Good evening, and welcome to the San Bernardino Community Foundation's regular meeting, March 6, 2024. I'm Jim Rowan, the Vice President. I'll be chairing this evening. Our President is away this evening with notice. Thank you to everyone for attending tonight's meeting of the San Bernardino Community Foundation Board of Directors. We're in person at the San Bernardino Senior Center, and we welcome members of the public who are attending via Zoom. We appreciate your patience if we have any technical hiccups. We ask speakers to speak loudly and clearly so that the microphones can pick you up and that our online guests, as well as everyone in the room, can hear you well. A couple of technical items before we get to the content of tonight's meeting. Please know that we want to hear from you. Members of the public who are here at the senior center in person, if you would like to speak during public comment items in the jurisdiction of the board that are not on this agenda or on any of our agendized items, please fill out one of the speaker cards that is on the table near the door. If you're attending on Zoom and you would like to address the board during public comment for items not on this agenda or on any of our agendized items, please use the raise your hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Once you raise your hand, the executive director will see that someone wants you to talk and she will let you know that you are waiting. When it is your turn to speak, the executive director will call your name and unmute you. If you are joining us by telephone, you may also address the board during public comment by pressing *9. And the executive director will address you and unmute you. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to address the board. Please note that individuals may only speak once per agenda item. Have we received any? First item is call to order. I now call the regular meeting of the San Bernardino Community Foundation Board of Directors of March 6, 2020. Order, please.
Board Member Belinda Wong.
Present.
Board Member Irving Torres.
Here.
Board Member Supriya Perry.
Present.
Treasurer Pat Lynn.
Here.
Secretary Raul Gomez is here. Vice President Jim Rowan.
Here.
And President Melissa Natani Jones is excused of notice.
Item number 3 is public comment. Would any members of the public like to address the board on a topic that is within the jurisdiction of the board, but is not on the agenda? For those on Zoom, please indicate so by using the raise your hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Leslie, any hands?
No hands.
Thank you. We'll proceed to the presentation. Number 4, approval of the minutes, February 7th, 2024, regular special board meeting. Secretary Gomez.
Thank you, Jim. In your meeting packet from our February 7, 2004 regular special board meeting are our minutes from that meeting. Jim.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Any questions or comments? May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? So why don't you call the roll, please? I'm sorry.
Board Member Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board Member Irving Torres.
Aye.
Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Treasurer Pat Lynn.
Aye.
Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Rowan.
Aye.
And President Melissa Natani Jones is excused with absence.
Item number 5 is our executive director's report. Leslie.
Welcome, everyone. It's good to see everyone here tonight and to our guests in the audience as well. In your packets is my written report, and I just want to highlight a couple of items. First are insurance renewals. The consent calendar includes a resolution authorizing the executive director to bind a new policy for the foundation's directors and officers liability insurance, as the current policy expires on March 21st. So that will be handled under consent. We always have the board approve that because it is the directors and officers insurance that covers all of you. Our commercial general liability, property, cyber liability, and non-owned hired auto liability insurance, as well as our workers' compensation insurance policy, are also up for renewal on March 21st. For the commercial bundle, our current insurer, which is Philadelphia Insurance Companies, offered a renewal package with a total annual premium of $1,271, which is just a slight increase from last year, which was $1,256. So basically flat. And under my contract authority as executive director, I have renewed this policy. It will take effect on March 21st. For the workers' compensation policy, our current carrier, AmTrust, offered the foundation a renewal policy with an estimated cost of $1,723, which was 45% higher than last year. Even though it wasn't a ton from a dollar standpoint, it was a fairly significant increase. So our broker at Cal Nonprofits Insurance Services did go out and look for other policies for us. Found similar, basically the same coverage from the Hartford, which is also a very reputable insurance company with a premium of $904, so actually lower than this current year. So we're switching to the Hartford, and that will also go in effect on March 21st. Wanted to give you an update on strategic planning, which is not on the agenda today, but the city, as you know, the city is considering pursuing a revenue measure to fund key facilities and infrastructure projects that the foundation board may be interested in supporting as a legacy project. Just want to make sure you're all aware that on February 27th, the San Bernardino City Council received a recommendation from its ad hoc committee, which consists of Vice Mayor Michael Salazar and Council Member Tom Hamilton, which was charged with reviewing types of revenue measures for the November 2024 election to strengthen the city's fiscal sustainability, and it was asked to report back to the council. The committee evaluated various revenue measure options, including a general obligation bond, utility users tax, personal tax, transient occupancy tax, business tax, benefit assessment districts, and sales tax add-on. And in doing so, it considered several factors, including the results of the city's community perception survey from last fall. The committee recommended that the council consider a general obligation bond, which can be only used to finance the acquisition or improvement of real property. The city also listed a number of unfunded capital needs responsive to the community perception survey that could be funded by a general obligation bond, including stormwater infrastructure, reconstruction of fire stations 51 and 52, Crestmore Canyon fire safety improvements, the Crestmore Fields construction, and other park enhancements, accelerated pavement management system, the senior center renovation, and street light replacements. The council agreed to move forward with the committee's recommendation and will be taking steps to explore a general obligation bond. The tentative timeline includes stakeholder and community outreach and a poll of residents this spring, with a decision as to whether to place a measure on the ballot to be made this July. So I'll continue to monitor that, and we'll bring it to you as new information unfolds, including the identification of specific projects that they'll be looking to fund with a revenue measure that the foundation may be interested in supporting. We'll also continue to monitor the strategic planning efforts of the San Bernardino First School District, which may also have projects that we might be willing to consider. And also just wanted to remind you who have not gotten your ethics requirements in, either your Form 700 or your AB 1234 training, to please do so as soon as possible. Thank you. And that's my report.
Thank you, Leslie. Any questions from the board for Leslie? Any questions from the public?
That's in the hands raised.
All right, thank you. Item number 6, consent calendar. We have 4 items on consent calendar today as listed in the agenda, and I don't need to read them all, but with regard to item 6C, adopt a resolution adjusting the executive director's compensation. State law requires all public agencies to orally announce the terms of recommended executive compensation adjustment before voting on it. In recognition of her outstanding service to the foundation, Executive Director Leslie Alamia will receive a 5% cost of living adjustment to her salary, which will now be $218,206.80, retroactive to February 1st, 2024. Upon the board's approval of this item, there will be no other changes to her compensation at this time. Any members of the public like to comment on a consent item? Okay. And there's no hands raised. Unless there's questions from the board, I call for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
So. Second.
We have a motion second. Roll.
Thank you. Board Member Belinda Wong,
Aye.
Board Member Irving Flores,
Aye.
Board Member Supriya Perry,
Aye.
Treasurer Pat Flynn,
Aye.
Raul is an aye, Secretary Raul Gomez, aye. Vice President Jim Roy.
Aye.
And President Melissa Natani Jones is excused with those.
Great, thank you. Item number 7, conduct of business, receive a report of the San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center from the city of San Bruno. On behalf of the Ad hoc Committee on Recreation and Aquatic Center Project, I will give a brief report from the committee. President Natani Jones and I sit on the city's RAC Advisory Committee, which regularly meets to receive updates from the city on the project. As you know, the foundation is supporting the new San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center with 8 grants totaling up to $51.5 million to the city of San Bruno. In February, the foundation made quarterly RAC payments totaling $75,000. The foundation has paid out a total of $49.25 million in RAC grant payments and has a balance of up to $2.25 million left to disperse. We have fully dispersed the originally committed $40.5 million for construction. The balance remaining on that grant is the up to $1.5 million for construction contingency if needed. The city will be submitting its next set of RAC grant reports in April, after which the foundation will make payments on the active grants. As mentioned in the staff report, foundation staff is working with nonprofit council and city staff to consolidate all remaining construction grant. So there will be only one remaining active grant after the current quarter. We have appreciated the regular update from the city on the project, and we are eager to hear the latest update on the timeline and budget. Community Services Director Travis Carlin is with us tonight to provide the quarterly update. Travis, you're up.
Thank you, Vice President Rain and members of the San Bruno Community Foundation and staff. I'm Travis Carlin. I'm the Community Services Director for the City of San Bruno. Tonight, I'll be sharing some information discussed during the RAC Construction Advisory Board meeting held on February 21st, and I'll be using Rod's presentation that he shared that night. Next slide, please. During the February 21st meeting, Rod McElroy from Consor presented the agenda focused on construction updates and our preparations for the facilities opening. Next slide, please. The project initiated in spring 2021 is slated to be completed in spring 2024, with approximately 5% of the work remaining. Recent progress includes the installation of the remaining walls in the natatorium, as you'll see in the bottom picture on the right. Next slide, please. Key areas requiring attention include the natatorium, community hall, and gymnasium, focusing on architectural finishes and equipment installations. Once the power drop occurs with PG&E, the startup equipment can take place. In the community hall and lobby, work is being performed to install a linear wood application on the walls and ceilings. Weather-dependent site work and technology upgrades are also underway, along with on-site paving in the parking lot and landscaping. Health and safety inspections will be finalized post-power drop. Next slide, please. Visual updates here showcase ongoing interior and exterior construction, highlighting progress in the natatorium and community hall. Glazing is taking place in the lower right folder, and in the lower right photo, you can see the stone veneer. The brown color in the upper left picture will also be overlaid with the stone veneer. Next slide, please. Notable progress includes the installation of the T-bars that support the wall separators, such as we have here in the senior center, and ongoing flooring and technology upgrades in the community hall. Next slide, please. The full equipment installation is ongoing with structural support already in place. Final inspections are scheduled for this as well for the sprinkler system. That one. We'll take a pause there just so you can see those pictures. Whenever you're ready, you can go on to the next slide. Final touches are being applied to the fitness room, including flooring and equipment preparations to minimize noise pollution from the gym by adding a storefront to open space you see in the photo. So one previous to that, lovely. Sorry, maybe go forward to. There you go. So you'll notice that there's a wide open space between the gymnasium and the fitness room. We are going to be adding a wall in there to minimize the noise pollution between those two rooms. Fitness equipment is being housed offsite and is ready to be installed once the elevators are operational. You can go on the next slide. Here you see the tentative schedule projections. The team is currently collaborating with PG&E to coordinate the inspection and power drop. Following the power drop, the equipment will undergo ramp-up procedures in fire alarm, elevator, and pool equipment testing. Based on the timing of the power drop, we anticipate approximately 8 weeks for building completion, subject to weather conditions. It is worth noting that since the initial presentation, we have experienced significant rainfall, thus setting us back just a little bit of time. Site work and landscaping will be carried out as the final stages of the project. Upon completion of all necessary work, the building will be occupied by staff members who will continue with trainings, setup, and preparations to ensure the building is ready for its soft opening to the public. Once the power drop has occurred, we will be in a better position to determine the timing of the. Next slide, please. Here you'll see that some of the completed work, wood flooring has been installed along with flooring and paint in the exercise room. The finishes on the outside of the elevators are also complete. Offices on both levels of the facility are completed as well, except for furniture, drinking fountains, restroom tiling, fixtures, and hand dryers have been installed. The locker room tile and fixtures are also in place. Next slide, please. This slide highlights change orders for the facility. 12.3 million has been approved with nearly $500,000 spent on design discrepancies and almost 40% unforeseen issues. The remainder covers owner requests and public safety and convenience. Next slide, please. Operating within the $62 million budget, the project holds a contingency balance of $625,000 with 5% of the project remaining. Soft costs stand at 5% with efforts going to maintain the budget compliance. Next slide, please. Community services staff is preparing a booth for the RAC at the March 23rd Egg Hunt event in City Park. This will offer opportunities to learn more about the facility, ask questions, generate membership interest, and enter to win prizes. Furnishings and fitness equipment are procured and awaiting installation upon move-in approval. Program planning is with readiness to promote rentals and membership once the move-in date is confirmed. Social media strategies and website development are in progress, aimed at promoting opportunities at the new center, and plans for the grand opening framework and dedication plaques are being worked on by staff. Next slide, please. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Travis, do we have any idea when the power drop is occurring?
We're coming close to an agreed date, but not quite yet. But we're pretty confident that we're nearing that power drop confirmation.
So the actual opening of the building is probably going to be early June.
So yeah, so what we're planning on doing is once we get that power drop, we'll have a better idea of what we can do with soft opening. Planning a soft opening for a few weeks just to get our feet wet, and then going into a grand opening sometime after that.
Okay. And I know already, but for the benefit of everyone else, you have backup plans for aquatics and different kinds of things based on when it's going to open and what might be delayed.
So as far as backup plans for our recreation programs, we do have backup plans. We're working with the school district for space. What we're anticipating is that we're going to schedule programs for the summer in other facilities. And then once we know that the rack is open, then we'll transfer those programs into the rack.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board? Linda?
I thought you said that the Easter egg hunt was gonna be near or around the facility. Did I mishear that?
Sure. So the egg hunt is across the street in City Park. And so we're gonna be setting up a membership booth there. We'll generate some excitement. We'll have some visuals out there. People can sign up to be on a mailing list. That way we can send them information directly. We're gonna have some drawings for some prizes, and then also when you get put on the mailing list, having an incentive for a prize at the grand opening.
Thank you.
Oh,
Just a couple of questions. So City Parkway, is it in its final configuration? Because I've heard or seen complaints about it just being a little bit too narrow and probably a little bit dangerous.
Sure. So from curb to curb, that is the final width of that road. You will, last time I was out there, there was a little bit of a lip between the curb and the pavement. I was told that there's going to be another layer of pavement that goes out there, but what you see from curb to curb is how wide that road will be.
And last question is, I know that they're installing streetlights. So I just want to know, how do they work? 'Cause I don't know a lot about streetlights, but I do know that it could cause a lot of traffic if they're not set correctly. So do you know if they're going to be timed, or is it by wave, by cars? Do you have any insight as to, again, how they're gonna operate?
I actually don't have any insight into that question.
Anything else from the board? Leslie, anything from the public? Thank you, Travis. Don't go too far. Item B is receive report of the Centennial Plaza Improvement Project in the city of San Bruno. In November 2022, the San Bruno Community Foundation Board approved a $500,000 grant to the city of San Bruno to support the Centennial Plaza Improvement Project. We're excited about this park renovation project, which will bring a needed community gathering space to downtown San Bruno. I'd like to welcome again Travis Carlin back to the podium to give us an update on the Centennial Plaza project, including the project budget, funding, and timeline, and the city council's recent action for the project. Travis.
Thank you once again, Vice President Ray and members of the board. Tonight, it's my honor to provide you with an update on the Centennial Plaza Improvement Project. Centennial Plaza spans at the intersection of Genevieve Avenue and San Mateo Avenue, as you know, serving as the visual gateway to downtown San Bruno for those that are entering on Genevieve Avenue. Acquired by the city in the 1990s, the plaza currently remains closed to the public. It's barricaded with ropes due to some issues with some of the subsurface there. And I can go to the next slide, please. Our journey with the Centennial Plaza Improvements Project began in July of 2021, when the city engaged with Calendar Associated Landscape Architects, which we call CALA, to develop a conceptual design aimed at revitalizing the plaza. Extensive community engagement took place, including collaborations with the Downtown Ad Hoc Improvement Committee and solicitation of feedback from the community, culminating in the approval of the conceptual plan by the City Council in August of 2022. Recognizing the significance of this project, the San Bruno Community Foundation awarded a $500,000 strategic grant in November of that year, contingent on the City Council's approval of the necessary gap funding for the project. Next slide, please. Further progress ensued with the City Council authorizing amendments to the design contract in December of 2022, and again in June of 2023, along with increased funding for the preparation of construction documents and the design of a bioretention area for rainwater treatment. Bids for the construction project were invited in November of 2023, followed by bid openings in January of 2024, which resulted in the City Council's approval of the contract award, including 4 bid alternates during their February 13th meeting of this year. Additionally, the City Council appropriated the required gap funding, contingency funds, and project management funds for the project. Next slide, please. This slide illustrates the current state of the plaza, predominantly roped off and inaccessible to the public. It highlights the need for significant updates to the plant material and the decommissioning of the temporary artwork on site, as well as substantial excavation and grading of the site. Next slide, please. This concept plan showcases an optimized use of space, envisioning a vibrant plaza suitable for music performances, small-scale events, and recreational activities. With potential for future cultural offerings, the plaza is poised to become a bustling hub for local businesses in the downtown community. Surrounded by shops, cafes, and restaurants, ample seating invites visitors to relax, dine, and explore. Next slide, please. This slide represents a before and after visual simulation demonstrating a harmonious blend of hardscape and landscape elements that seamlessly flow out throughout the park, creating an inviting outdoor space at the heart of downtown. The stage trellis serves as a captivating focal point for performances, while the spacious hardscape accommodates a larger audience. Next slide, please. The city council endorsed the project during the February 13th city council meeting, approving a total budget of $1,582,955. This includes nearly $200,000 for completed design work, a construction contract with Suarez and Munoz totaling just over $1.1 million, and a construction contingency of $115,000. Furthermore, the council authorized procurement of a comprehensive project and construction project manager not to exceed about $166,000. With the construction phase budgeted not to exceed $1.38 million and approximately $800,000 remaining in the project fund, the final funding request from the city council was about $576,000. Funding has been allocated from the community facilities impact fee fund with an approximate balance of about $6.8 million and was supplemented by a $150,000 grant application to the county to offset the project costs. Next slide, please. Moving forward, our next steps include hiring a project manager. The deadline for those applications was today, and we received 2 applications. We'll be now scheduling a kickoff meeting and organizing a groundbreaking event. Construction is anticipated to commence in April of 2024, with the project slated for completion by December of 2024. And we can go on to the next slide. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on Centennial Plaza.
Again, thank you, Travis. Any questions from the board? Leslie, anything from the public? All right. There we are. Item C, receive a report from the ad hoc committee on downtown beautification initiatives and adopt a resolution approving strategic grant to the city of San Bruno for the downtown beautification project in an amount not to exceed $350,000. At our last board meeting, Community Services Director Carlin updated us on the city's current efforts to improve the look and feel of downtown San Bruno and requested a strategic grant from the foundation to support those efforts. Following the board's usual process for evaluating potential strategic grant opportunities, the board approved a resolution creating the ad hoc committee on downtown beautification initiatives to research ways in which the foundation could support the city's downtown beautification initiatives and considering bringing a funding recommendation to the board. I have the pleasure of serving on that ad hoc committee along with President Tanya Jones and Treasurer Lynn, and we'll give a brief report from the committee. At a request, the city submitted a written strategic grant proposal for the downtown beautification project, which outlines the 5 main components of the project: project's value proposition and community impact, the project timeline, the project budget, why foundation funds are needed, collaborative efforts related to the project, and the sustainability of the project. The proposal addressed several questions the committee had raised. Of note, city staff increased the project budget from $308,000, which was presented in February, to $350,000 due to an increase in contingency from 10% to 25% to ensure that the budget provides sufficient cushion for unexpected costs that may arise due to the aging infrastructure and unknowns under the sidewalks. The committee is supportive of this increase and believes it is a more realistic estimate of the likely cost of the project. The project timelines anticipates construction beginning over the summer, with the project substantially completed in the 4th quarter of 2024. This timing lines up with the construction schedule for the Centennial Plaza and Posey Park improvements, which are also expected to be completed by the end of the year. The proposal also notes that recognition of the foundation funding may include a plaque and the marquee sign and a replacement of the San Bruno Community Foundation logo on the street and pole banners. I'd like now to give Community Services Director Carlin the opportunity to give us an update on the project, particularly some of the changes made in the proposal since it was last presented in February. After that, the board will be asked to approve the resolution awarding a strategic grant to the city of San Bruno for the downtown beautification project in an amount not to exceed $350,000. Because the city council has yet to authorize the project, the committee recommends making payment of the grant contingent on the city council approving the project and the project budget. Also, the grant amount is not to exceed $350,000, and in the event the actual costs of the project are less than $350,000, the foundation would provide grant funding only to the extent necessary to cover those costs. Travis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President Ruane and board members once again. I'll be providing a concise update on the downtown beautification efforts since our last presentation in February. I express great gratitude to the board for considering this project. It's a very exciting project for downtown and business owners. And we can go on to the next slide. In alignment with the city council's strategic initiatives, our focus remains on enhancing the charm of downtown San Bruno. The 5 key areas I'll outline in the previous presentation are the downtown planter revitalization, the feasibility of trees on Jennifin Avenue, median landscape revitalization, street pole banners, and then South San Mateo Avenue marquee. Next slide, please. Our project budget has evolved since our last meeting, as Mr. Wayne mentioned. Originally proposed with a 10% contingency, we are now proposing a 25% contingency due to the unforeseen challenges posed by aging infrastructure under the sidewalks. Final costs for each aspect of the project will be presented for reimbursement approval. The total requested consideration from the board stands at a not to exceed amount of $350,000, as Vice President mentioned. Next slide, please. Moving forward, our focus is on design development, particularly for banners and marquee sign through April and May. Following that community feedback, and then we will proceed with the bidding process adhering to the city's purchasing policies. Pending successful bids, contracts are tentatively set to be awarded in July of 2024, with construction slated to commence in August. Our aim is to synchronize the completion of this project with Centennial Plaza and Posey Park projects. The city is eager to collaborate with the foundation to ensure appropriate recognition of its contributions. We propose displaying the foundation's recognition through various means, such as plaques near the marquee sign and incorporating the foundation logo on the banners on the avenue. We are open to any other ideas the board may have for recognition. I trust this update, coupled with my presentation in February, offers clarity of the project, facilitating a thorough grasp of our downtown beautification efforts for your funding consideration.
Great. Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Yes.
Yes, Rita.
Are you anticipating that, because you were talking about making, or getting, some bids, and are you anticipating using a consultant to, in this project, and is it the same one that, was used in the Centennial Plaza project?
Sure. So right now, we do have some pretty solid, very solid idea and a plan for the planters. The planters is probably the most complex part of it. We will likely use someone from the engineering department or our consultant that we're using for Centennial Plaza, just to look over all the documents that we have before we go out for the bidding process, just to make sure that we have all the components of that project, and then also the contingencies written into that RFP. As far as the marquee goes, that will simply be 3 bids on that. We already have a very solid bid and a solid proposal for that project. So with that solid proposal, we know that we're likely not going to exceed that on the marquee. And then the banners, we're going to do a combination of some in-house design, along with some community input on that, and then hire a banner company to print those and install those for us.
And if it's not obvious, the reason I'm asking is because it seems a sizable investment this was made in that consultant, and to the extent that there's any, information that could be used in this project, I mean, it would, I think, benefit the community.
Yeah, and we did put in the contract, or the request for proposals for the PM, a hourly rate for additional services that we may need for related projects coming forward with the tenant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board members? Anyone from the public listening?
No questions.
Thank you. I'd like to call for a motion to adopt a resolution approving a strategic grant to the city of San Bruno for the downtown beautification project in an amount not to exceed $350,000.
So,
Second.
Motion and second roll.
thank you. Board Member Irving, or Belinda Wong, sorry.
Aye.
Board Member Irving Torres.
Aye.
Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Treasurer Pat Glenn.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Roy.
Aye.
And President Melissa Natano Jones is excused.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Item D, receive a report from the ad hoc committee on the San Bruno Park School District strategic initiatives. Board member reports as the chair of the ad hoc committee on the San Bruno Park School District strategic initiatives, and we'll give the report on behalf of the committee. Irving?
Great, thank you so much, Vice President Nguyen. I've had the pleasure of chairing the ad hoc committee on the San Bruno Parks School District Strategic Initiative. I just want to thank Secretary Gomez and Board Member Perry for their service on the committee. The committee was created last November after the board received a report from the San Bruno Park School District Superintendent Matt Duffy on the district's strategic initiative. The committee is charged with researching and considering ways in which the foundation could support the school district's strategic initiative and, as appropriate, assisting the district in preparing one or more strategic grant-making proposals for the board to consider to support such efforts. The committee has met 3 times since November, including one meeting with Superintendent Duffy and San Bruno Education Foundation's President Heather Lata to learn more about the school district's strategic initiatives. Tonight, I would like to give a brief update on our deliberations. The district's 3 top priority initiatives: the launch of the STEAM labs, staffing and programming at each elementary school, completion of a new STEAM wing at Parkside Intermediate School, and transform playing fields for all schools. Are all the large projects that would require significant investment from the San Bruno Community Foundation. In addition, the district is waiting for resolution on the sale of the middle school site to have better sense of the funding available for the capital projects. It's also considering putting a revenue measure such as a partial tax on the November ballot to fund various programs. Given that, as well as the fact that our board is in the middle of our strategic planning process, the committee decided that it was best to take a pause to let those processes develop. The board's consideration of funding any of these larger school district initiatives should take place as part of the board's ongoing strategic planning deliberations. Finally, the committee did express a willingness to consider high priority, immediate need at a much lower funding level. If the district were to identify one, Executive Director Javier has communicated that to the superintendent. And so that's it for the report update for the San Bruno Park strategic initiatives.
Thank you, Irving. Any questions from the board? Leslie, anything from the public?
Don't see any.
This is a report only, so no action. Slide. Item B, receive a report on other programs, Crestmore Scholarship, Community Grants Fund, and Strategic Grants. Leslie.
Hey, well, Jessica and I have been very busy with both community grants and the scholarship in the past month. It's the two programs work really well because usually you're focused just on one, but there is a little overlap at the beginning of the year where we're working on both. And so we're just kind of emerging from that period. In terms of the community grants, as you know, the board approved 26 community grants in December. We've executed all 26 grant agreements, and thanks to you, we have delivered nearly all of the grant checks. So it's been wonderful because we've been able to do actual in-person grant check presentations for most of them, with a few online. And we're getting some great photos that we're going to be using in our sort of marketing materials. So you can see Jim and the San Bruno Community Gardens up there. Belinda with Life Moves, Irving with, where are you with, Upward Scholars, and Secretary Gomez with Each Green Corners. Those are just 4 of about 18 or so we've done. So thank you to all of you who have participated in that. We do get great feedback from the grantees about how we go out and talk to them and meet them and get to see their programs in progress. So they are always very appreciative of that. It appears to be somewhat unique among funders to actually do that. So we think that's a great part of our community outreach, and we'll continue to do that. With regard to the Crestmore Scholarship, our application deadline was yesterday, so we have been very busy dealing with beforehand, helping the kids get all the applications in, and now Jessica is not here tonight because she's dealing with processing all of the applications that have come in. The applicant pool, actually, from a numbers perspective, is very similar to last year. So very robust applicant pool. She's now going through those, making sure that students are actually eligible, as well as making sure that their applications are complete. There has been one issue, this year, which is the FAFSA, which is the Federal Financial Aid Form. The Department of Education unveiled a new form this year, which has had some issues. And there's been a lot of delays, both in rolling out the form and in getting the information once they process it and produce their reports. So typically by now, students would have received, if they've applied, would have received a submission summary or their report, which gives all the information, and it's part of what we use for our assessment of students' financial need. As well as they receive this year, it used to be called the expected family contribution, now it's called the student aid index, but it's where the Department of Education takes all their information about their family's assets and income, et cetera, and spits out a number which indicates the level of financial need they may need to attend college. Well, the information has not been released for most students, and the reports have not been released at all. We've made a couple of adjustments because of that. One, we asked students to self-report some information so that we would at least have some information about their financial information about their families. And then we said you could apply for the scholarship even if you don't have your submission summary, because none of them do, as long as they had filled out the form, and we've asked them to submit their report as soon as they get it. The Department of Education is saying that they will come out in March, so we're hopeful that we will be able to use that information as part of the evaluation, but we'll see. We have assembled the selection panel, which is a group of community volunteers. So they'll be reading and evaluating the applications. And we're just plowing ahead on that stage of the process. Our goal is to release decisions in late April so that students are able to factor it in when they're making their choice of what college they'll be going to. And then we will welcome them all to our June meeting here at the Senior Center. And that is my report.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Great. Any questions, Leslie, from the public?
There are no hands raised.
All right, thank you. Final item is item F, receive a report from the Investment Committee on its February 21st, 2024 regular meeting. Treasurer Lynn is the chair of the Investment Committee and will give the committee report. Back.
Thank you, Vice President Lorraine. On March 6th, we had our February 21st, we had our regular investment committee meeting. It was our regular quarterly meeting. There were really two items on the agenda. One is the condition of the market and the investment portfolio, and the other is on RAC. With the first one, good news. We are financially and economically, the U.S. is getting better. It just, right? The GDP growth was around 2.5% in 2023. And even the latest news, there are indicators that says that we are coming out of, well, we never really into recession, and that there is reasons for the Fed to reduce their rates this year. So those are all good news. So in terms of our foundation investment accounts, as of December 31st, 2023, we have 31 million in the bank, or not the bank, the investment portfolios, with 22 million in the quasi-endowment, 6 million in the strategic pool, and 3 million in the liquidity pool. The second item with the RAC is just that at this point, it's really just the cash flow. Everything is in the liquidity pool at this point, and there's just the $2 million. $2 million left to pay, which includes the 1.5 million of contingency. That is the report. Our next meeting will be on May 13th.
Any questions for our treasurer? Anything from the public, Leslie?
I do not see any hands raised.
All right, this is a report only, and so no action will be taken. Item number 8, board member comments. Any board members like to make a comment this evening? Okay. Number 9 is adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. We don't need a roll call. So this meeting